Hi, everybody. Welcome to Wood with Handles, episode 3 for the week of April 28th. My name's Josh.
My name is Carl.
Ryan's not with us today.
Topics include the Cubs closer issue, the Tigers bullpen and closer issue, the Royals in first place, the slumping Washington Nationals, special guest, MLB Memes.
First, let's start talking about multiple bullpen issues in baseball, but mainly the Cubs and the Tigers. The Cubs haven't got off to the greatest start, but I don't think anybody expected them to. But their closer issue is a big deal, and it's kind of weighing them down. I mean, they've lost some really close games by some blown saves, mainly from Carlos Marmol.
Well, the Cubs they need to find a different closer. I don't know if they have anyone in the minor leagues, but they need someone that can just be lights out. Carlos just gives up too many hits, too many runs to close.
I mean, I doubt they have much going on in the minor leagues from what I know, but I mean, is it fair to say that it might be too early to judge? I mean, sure, he's blown a few saves, but I mean, we're also only coming on 4 weeks into the season here.
Well, I mean, 4 weeks in a season is, a good size sample to see what your season's going to look like. I mean, this is the equivalent of playing one game in the NFL, so you can see trends and you can pick them up, and I think the Cubs need some help there. Yeah,
I mean, they definitely need some help. I don't know. I think sometimes it's unfair at the sample size that we have, but yeah, I mean, you're right. It's been a good chunk, and I would like to see him do better. I don't think anybody, including the Cubs organization, thought this was going to be a winning year, but you can't really give up runs like that.
No, you can't, especially you're in the National League, you're in the Central, which isn't the most competitive league, but you should still be able to close out a game with a 2-run lead.
Yeah, I mean, they're giving up, like I said, not even close games. I mean, they have sizable leads in these games, and I mean, just completely blowing them. I mean, that's just something as a professional team. This is your job. Like, that's what you get paid to do. This is your 9 to 5. Like, you need to be able to close that game.
Right.
With that being said, I mean, they're not the only team who are struggling, or I guess we're struggling. Prior to, I guess, really this past weekend, the Tigers had been struggling in the bullpen, and they made the controversial choice to bring back Papa Grande, and some people like it, some people don't. And so far, I mean, in the little sample that we've had, he's done really great.
Well, I mean, I will not be a fan of Papa Grande just because, his postseason trouble last year just sticks out in my mind so much. It's just troubling to know that was our only option, if you will, was to bring Papa Grande back. But, I mean, I believe I read in the 2 years he was with Detroit, he saved 110 games out of 118.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that, like, lately, I mean, I make fun of him a lot, and I'm not a Tigers fan, so I could care less, but for me, it's the biggest thing is I feel like he might have been poorly, just kind of given the short end of the stick in a way. I mean, he's coming back to the team that he, like you said, saved all those games for. But I mean, he's really had a pretty phenomenal career with the exception of the playoffs. I mean, sure, those were pretty important games that he blew, but a lot of people are like, oh, he ruined the World Series. Well, he didn't even play in the World Series. They sat the bench the whole time. So, I mean, I think he might have been, in another cases, we were talking about the Cubs, but I think he might have been poorly judged again. I mean, again, I'm not a Tigers fan. I don't fully keep up 110% with the Tigers, so my views might be a little off, but I think he might have kind of been given the shaft of the stick. But as a Sox fan, I would love to see him come in and blow some games.
I just I know Leland wanted to go with closer by committee, and that just wasn't working because our relief wasn't there, but it's so early in the year. I mean, that's something that just gets stronger over time is bullpen.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Tigers are solid when they have a dedicated closer. I think without that dedicated closer, I think they kind of struggle. I think they need the Phil Kokes in the 7th, 8th inning, and they need those people that they have been using as closers in those situations. And I think this maybe not every time, and maybe he'll choke again in the playoffs. But I mean, I think this is something that they definitely needed, was a set person whose job it is to close. I don't think they're a team built to do this on committee.
Well, I think what a lot of us Tigers fans were thinking going into the season was, if we score so many runs, why would we ever need a bullpen or a closer? You know, who needs a closer when you're up 10 runs? But, you know, there's been some blown games, and I guess that was the only option. I mean, the contract's right, though. They're only paying him not even $1 million for the year, so if he blows a couple saves and they bench him, no harm, no foul.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think obviously the organization is uncomfortable with him as much as the fans are, but I think not necessarily him, but I think having a dedicated closer, someone who knows what they're doing also, is going to benefit them greatly. And I think it already has. I mean, the Tigers have done great really since he's been back, and obviously hasn't pitched in every game, but they've kind of been on a nice little streak here since he came back.
Right. Well, I know Jim Leland looks really excited and really comfortable and happy almost that Valverde's back. So, you know, the manager would know more than us fans.
Yeah, I mean, obviously not only the manager but the GM. I mean, they see something. You know, if they're spending money, I mean, they see it, and they see that there's a benefit somewhere in there. Keeping in the AL Central here, we want to talk about I guess you call them the Red Hot Royals, the first place Royals, something I guess nobody really expected. I mean, the Royals always start the season off hot, but never like this. And I mean, they're just playing, just the way they play, and it's not necessarily their win-loss column. I mean, if you watch the Royals play, I mean, they're playing like a first place team, like a championship caliber team.
Well, when they went out and got, you know, James Shields from Tampa Bay, you know, that just solid. You know, that just makes that starting five so much better. Yeah. He's an inning eater. He throws a lot of strikes. Yeah,
I mean, that's really what they needed. And, I mean, they were already a decent team last year. I mean, they caused a lot of, even though they were, I think, fourth place last year, I mean, they caused a lot of issues for the Tigers and the White Sox for a while there. And, I mean, it's a solid team. And, I mean, we're both fans of teams in the AL Central, so we see a lot of the Royals, and the Royals are, I mean, I think they're the real deal. I think I think they're
a year or two away from being, you know, bona fide contenders. I mean, right now they might be in first, but I could foresee them trailing off, second half slumps like they usually get into. But, you know, they have a good starting pitcher in James Shields. They have a lineup. I mean, their lineup isn't loaded with all-stars, but they're guys that can hit.
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of hitters. They have a very high on-base percentage. I mean, they're definitely a solid team, and I think, I mean, to say that they're going to win the division this year is more than a long shot. I mean, the Tigers are by far the best team in the division, and I mean, but to say that they could come in as a wild card or something of that sort, I don't think that's too far of a long shot. I don't think they're going to win a World Series or anything like that, but I definitely think no team, American League Central, or just teams in the league period, need to take them lightly, because I think they're much better than a lot of people give them credit for.
Oh, I definitely could see that, but you know, I believe they have a good farm system. Year or two, it would not surprise me if they won the American League Central and went on to the playoffs, but that's still a year or two away.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see where it takes them. I mean, I think baseball is going to drastically change in the next few years. I mean, you have the teams who for a long time were known for being terrible are playing phenomenal, and I think it's just a matter of time before that translates into real winnings and playoffs and championships. I mean, all across the league it's happening between the Pirates and the Athletics and the Orioles, and I mean, all these teams who have not historically, but for many years now, in the past 10, 15 years, have been really a joke of baseball, and now they're, I mean, best teams in the league. Yeah. I just think that eventually that's going to turn into those being the dominant teams, and we're going to get away from the Angels, the Rangers, the Tigers, the Yankees being kind of those dominant teams, and you're going to see these kind of small
market, homegrown kind of teams come up out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, they've already been kind of a big deal at this point. I mean, I think it's definitely going to happen. Well, speaking of teams that we all expected to be good and are kind of the big names of baseball, how about those Nationals?
I'm floored that right now Steven Strasburg is 1-4.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just Strasburg. I mean, it's the whole team. I mean, I forgot what the number was. Like, against below 500 teams, they're like 8-1 or something like that, and above 500 teams, they're like 2-11 or some crazy shit like that. Like, they just can't beat good teams. They're handling the shitty teams like the Marlins, but any team that has some talent on it, they're just getting their ass handed to them. They got swept by the Braves a couple weekends ago. I know we talked about that too.
I mean, baseball is such a grind season. I mean, it's good to beat the teams you're supposed to beat, but there's teams that you should be able to win, 1 or 2 in a series, and those are like the playoff-bound teams, the teams that are going to go to the playoffs, because that's what prepares you for October.
Yeah. I mean, do you see these guys turning around at all?
Given that their division, the only other really good team in the National League East is the Braves, I could foresee them bouncing back.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I would like to see them come back. I mean, I like the Nationals. I know Ryan's a huge fan of the Nationals. I like watching them play. I think they're young, and it's fun to watch a team like that play. And
it definitely is. I mean, they're a young, fun team. I could say that I like watching them too. I think they'll right the ship.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, obviously, there's some big name teams between them and the Angels that are just kind of not going the way that anybody expected them to. And I think everyone's kind of has the mindset that this is just temporary and they'll eventually, like you said, right the ship and everything will kind of go the way we all expected it to. I mean, I think almost any rating had the Nationals going to the World Series out of the National League, and to see them play like this, I mean, they're not even going to make the playoffs, let alone the World Series.
Well, they're just underachieving. Their biggest problem is they're underachieving. I mean, they have so much talent that's just not performing to what they should be performing at.
I know last night Bryce Harper hit his 9th home run. I mean, I know that's not the most in baseball right now, but I mean, that's the top level in baseball right now. And I mean, it's weird seeing a team like that perform so terribly. I mean, it's very reminiscent of when the Miami Heat got together in the first year, and it was this all-star team that they built together, and then they were just terrible. They couldn't win games. And I mean, obviously they eventually righted that ship too, but it's weird to see, I mean, basically all the big names in the National League on this team, and they're just struggling.
Well, and that's what I was saying. Like, Steven Strasburg he could be your ace. He's supposed to be your ace, but this month he has not pitched like an ace.
I mean, I think we're seeing that across baseball, though. I know Verlander hasn't been doing so hot, and I know over here for the Sox, Chris Sale, I mean, hasn't done terrible, but he hasn't been his normal lights-out self. I mean, I think other than Yu Darvish, you're seeing that all across baseball. All the aces that are supposed to be carrying these teams are really kind of not what they should be.
Do you think the inning limit and the not pitching in the postseason kind of shook his confidence at all?
It probably did, but I don't know this, but I'm sure he the whole time was working out and still getting his pitches in, but just not in such a competitive way. So, I mean, I doubt he was just sitting there. I mean,
right.
I'm not really sure kind of what did it and why he's struggling the way he is. But like I said, I think we're seeing it across baseball, and I think part of it is hitters are learning to hit these guys, and they've had a kind of more of a chance to, I mean, not necessarily Verlander. Verlander's been around for a while, but Chris Sale was his last year starting. Last year was his first year starting, I should say. And last year was Steven Strasburg's first year. I mean, it's the same as someone like Mike Trout, where people are saying the reason Mike Trout's slumping is because people have learned how to pitch to him because they know what he's good at hitting, so they don't throw him those pitches. But I think that the same can be said about batters. Batters know what these pitchers do, and I mean, you have a dominant season because it's your first season. Nobody's ever seen you before, and I think now that we're in season 2 of these guys' big career, people kind of know what to expect, and I think they're just going to have to work on maybe some new pitches or working on strengthening some of their weaker pitches.
Right, and maybe just getting the feel of art of pitching.
Yeah.
You know, that's something that I've heard all my life, and watching Justin Verlander over the last 6-7 years, that's one thing I've noticed that's evolved about him, is he just has the feel for pitching, the art of pitching.
I mean, he's amazing, and obviously I think any major league pitcher kind of strives to be at that level, but yeah, I mean, it's a shame to see him kind of slumping the way he is.
Well, plus, I mean, Strasburg is such a young kid, too.
Yeah. I think
if you have a down year, you have a down year. I mean, you just got to shake it off and go back at it. I think Verlander's second or third year, he only had 6 or 7 wins and 12 to 14 losses.
Yeah. I mean, I think they'll get it back together. I'm not too worried about it.
No. And that brings us to our guest of the week, our favorite fan page, MLB Memes.
Introduce yourself, guys.
Hey, I'm Johnny from MLB Memes.
I'm Avi from MLB Memes.
All right, thanks for coming on this week, guys.
Our pleasure.
Having us, Josh.
So basically, you guys, at least in our eyes, are a pretty big deal, especially Facebook, Twitter, whatnot. Have a lot of followers and kind of a big following to the MLB Memes. They're all very funny. And how did you guys get to where you are today?
Well, it's a good question, Josh. I guess me and Avi, we're really good friends, and we just kind of have kind of the same sense of humor, and we just hang out a lot together. And it was just, Avi just like said to me one day, hey, there's like an NBA memes right now that's like really popular. We could totally do this with baseball. And my response, I believe, and Avi can correct me if I'm wrong, was like, that's a great idea. And we kind of just took off from there.
Let's check the G-chat logs.
Awesome.
That's exactly what it was.
That's great. So with your memes, like, do you guys create everything that's on the website, or not the website, but the Facebook and Twitter and whatnot, or is it user submitted? How does it all work?
Initially, I mean, we started it in February of last year, and it was all us making them. But by the time like opening day came around, I guess after around 6 weeks, we hit around like 10,000 fans. We actually started getting more submissions per se, and it was mostly submission based at that point.
Okay.
And then it goes in waves when there's newsworthy stuff, and we're getting a lot of submissions. But otherwise, sometimes we have to, if we want to get something on the fly, something significant happens, we'll just make one ourselves sometimes.
Because in certain terms of like what you guys post on the website, is there a certain player or someone that you guys prefer to, I don't want to say make fun of, but use for the memes or jokes or whatnot?
Well, I guess it's fair to say that we have a Juan Pierre fetish, and we've always had it, and it was just a joke between the two of us, and we kind of like carry that through the site. But other than that, I think like everything is kind of, we try to get a sense of what the audience like wants to hear. Like obviously, I'd say most of our followers are really anti-Yankees, so we kind of like feed into that, even though we really have no personal preference with that. And we just kind of get a feel for what people like and what people don't like, and just kind of roll with it. So I'd say whoever we're making fun of is what people want to see.
Yeah, we also try to create maybe like a trend per se. Maybe a certain player that famous for being bad. I guess like Jason Bay would have been that person last year, and there's always someone bad.
Yeah, for sure. That was one thing I did want you guys kind of touched on it there, but one thing we did want to know is what your personal preferences were towards the Yankees. I know basically the big thing is the Yankees suck thing, but I was interested to know kind of how you guys feel.
That is the $1 million question, isn't it, Josh? Well, who do you think our favorite team is?
If I had to guess, I don't know. Maybe I'd say probably something I see the least of is maybe Dodgers stuff, so maybe Dodgers.
Ooh, it's a pretty good guess.
Good guess.
Yeah, I guess you could say we're Dodger fans. Avi's definitely a much bigger fan than I am. I'm kind of just like a casual, I like watching baseball in general. I like kind of like watching everything. But we're out in LA, so we definitely go to a lot of Dodger games. So.
Okay. Yeah. That's really great. So something we didn't really discuss on the regular part of the show this week, but we wanted to get to was Hawk Harrelson's kind of denouncement of sabermetrics and his kind of the will to win speech. I was wondering what your guys' view on just sabernomics and kind of his little outburst there and what you guys feel on that.
All right. I mean, personally, I like sabermetrics. Like most people, I read Moneyball, saw most of the movie, didn't watch the whole thing. Maybe I'm a bad person, but I'm a bad person. And also, I don't know if there's a game called Out of the Park Baseball, which is like a baseball simulation league, which is all based on numbers. So I really do like crunching the numbers and stuff like that. But I mean, there's a part of me that obviously there is more to it than numbers and things like that. As far as Hawk Harrelson, maybe he went a little bit too far, which he tends to do. Kind of also when he berates umpires and stuff like that, so he definitely has a track record of that kind of thing.
Yeah, so, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm personally pretty big on sabermetrics because I like to play a lot of fantasy baseball, and that's obviously all sabermetrics.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of like it's a big thing for me. So I'm definitely a part of that. Like, I guess it's like a newer wave where like math is just becoming a much bigger part of baseball. I think out of all the sports that you can actually do sabermetrics with, baseball works out the best just because in the end it's one batter versus one pitcher. I mean, there's obviously deep team defense, but compared to all the other sports, there's a much more individual capacity that you can actually track statistically a lot better than other sports.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
You also can't discount the or talk enough about how Hawk Harrelson, it's obviously compounded by the fact that he's a little bit annoying. No, I mean, more than a little bit, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, like I've said before, I'm a little biased because I'm a Sox fan. I enjoy him, but yes, I understand that is the general consensus from outside league. The two other guys who host the show, they are both big Tigers fans, and I get that a lot. So, yeah, I mean, I understand that is the general consensus. I don't necessarily fully agree with his stance on sabermetrics. I think it's clearly working for some teams and some people. I just think there are things that cannot be measured in number, like leadership and just little things like
the Diamondbacks. They got grit, They traded Justin Upton for Martin Prado, because he's gritty.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely, for sure.
Like with anything else, I just think it's important just to like balance everything out. So having like an approach that's specifically all like math and all sabermetrics, and one that's all completely just scouting and like just all intangibles, I think neither of those ways are going to work, and every team just needs to find out like a good combination of everything for it to work out the best.
Awesome. I guess one last thing we like to kind of ask everybody, where do you see the rest of the season? How do you see the rest of the season playing out as far as playoffs, World Series, predictions, stuff of that sort?
I'm really bad with predictions, but I think the Tigers are going to win the World Series, which means they're probably definitely not going to. But I could see them versus, I guess maybe, I don't know, probably looking like the Braves right now.
Okay.
Yeah. In the preseason, I was probably looking at like the Nationals and the Tigers, but last year I thought the Angels were going to win the World Series, so my predictions aren't worth too much.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, we always just like to hear what you guys have to say and get different views. We all have different views. I still think the Nationals are going to turn it around, but I think Tigers. I still say Tigers Nationals, but the Braves are hard to ignore at this point.
Yeah, very hard.
Yeah, definitely. Anything that you guys would like to input as far as where MLB Memes is going, or anything you guys want to say and add to the end of this here?
Avi, I'll let you handle that one.
Oh, really? I don't know. I mean, we really enjoy seeing all the submissions and stuff like that, and we really like the user engagement. Other than that, I just hope you guys keep following and enjoy our stuff for sure.
Awesome. Well, guys, I know it was short, but thanks for coming on this week's episode. I mean, we really appreciate having you guys on. I mean, it was nice to talk to you about different things. Yeah, no problem, guys. And maybe in the future we can have you guys on again and have you on just as regular guests and talk for the week about the week's news.
Yeah, why not?
Well, this is our podcast debut, and I think we could honestly say it's the best one we've ever done. We've really enjoyed our time here.
Awesome. All right, thanks.
Thanks everyone for listening. You can follow us online, woodwithhand.es, the Twitter page, Wood with Handles, and the Facebook page, Wood with Handles. Thanks everyone for contributing to the blog. A big thanks to MLB Memes for coming on. Tune in next week. My name is Carl.
My name is Josh. Thanks for listening.